Welcome to the Great Basin Prescribed Fire and Smoke Transport Briefing for Monday, January 27th. Over the last 1 to 2 weeks, still very limited amounts of precipitation, but we did have a storm move through recently into California and is now settled over southern areas of the Great Basin, and it did bring a band of precipitation from the central Sierra into western and eastern Nevada and across northern Utah. These totals here on the left do not take fully into account the storm, as it usually is about a day behind. So we did see some more precipitation over western Nevada and the Sierra. Otherwise, the last 14 days, not including what just occurred over the last 24 to 36 hours, precipitation well below normal across the Great Basin. Looking at the recent 72 hours of snowfall, you can see the snowfall in western Nevada and the Sierra stretching across central Nevada into parts of northern Utah. Some areas did see over 3 to 6 inches of accumulation in the higher elevations. This was a much drier snow regime, so the snow's piled up fairly quickly, especially over western Nevada. The snow depth is shown on the right. And looking at the current snowpack, still generally below normal across many areas of the Great Basin, in the mountain areas of the Sierra and western Nevada, and then over into eastern Idaho, Wyoming, and Utah. Still some areas of northern Nevada into southwest Idaho that are holding on to near normal just due to the colder temperatures, keeping a lot of that snow that fell around in the higher elevations. The satellite image from this morning shows very little cloud cover, but we do have that area of low pressure down south, so we will see clouds and occasional showers over parts of southern Nevada, southern Utah, and northern Arizona here for the next couple of days. So for later today, you can see that area of low pressure moving east just near the southern tip of Nevada. So all the wraparound moisture really just affecting southern areas of the Great Basin that have been exceptionally dry over the last month. So this is certainly welcome, even though the precipitation totals won't be overly impressive. At least they'll see some cloud cover, higher humidity, and some spotty light showers. You can see the dispersion over here on the right, showing good dispersion near that area of low pressure in the south, and definitely poor as you go further north. Gusty winds wrapping around that low will occur over southern Nevada and Utah, but most of those gusts in the 20s to around 30 miles per hour, so we're not expecting very strong winds. We will have some easterly winds over the Sierra Crest, which will have some gusty winds right at ridgetop. Otherwise, mixing heights will remain high in the south near that low and much lower up into Idaho and Wyoming. Temperatures today will be on the cool side across the north and eastern side of the Great Basin and generally closer to normal in the south. Relative humidity elevated. We were seeing some single-digit RHs in the south previous to yesterday when that storm system moved in, so it's nice to see some higher humidity in the southern areas of the Great Basin. By Tuesday, this low is a very slow mover. It will only push into northern Arizona, so still that wraparound moisture in a lot of the same areas. We'll see it today with, again, clouds, higher humidity, and some spotty showers. Same wraparound winds, so dispersion still better over the southern half of the Great Basin. Again, similar wind portfolio and mixing heights similar to what we'll see today. Temperatures will start to increase a few degrees here over the western half of the Great Basin and remain constant over eastern areas. Relative humidity will be a little bit higher across Utah as that low slides east over northern Arizona and will start to dry out a bit over southern Nevada, getting a little bit further away from the core of that low. By Wednesday, the low moves into the Four Corners area, so really we'll see any of that wraparound moisture over parts of the Arizona Strip and southeast Utah with drier conditions elsewhere. Again, another good dispersion day over the southern half of the Great Basin near that low. And you can see the wind profile is about the same and maybe a little bit less in wind speed, but still a gusty winds in kind of the same areas on the north side of that low with higher mixing heights in the south. Temperatures continue to climb over the western half of the Great Basin and in northern areas. We'll see highs in Idaho now above freezing and some areas above 40 degrees, which is quite a bit warmer than what we've been seeing recently. Relative humidity, very similar Wednesday to what we'll see on Tuesday with the drier conditions in southern Nevada and still a little bit elevated moisture in Utah. The 3-day precipitation, so again, even with this low, very slow moving across Arizona and keeping the southern areas in that moisture belt on the north side of that low, just very limited with respect to overall total precipitation. The heavier precipitation definitely south into Arizona and over into southern Colorado and New Mexico. But at least we'll get something over southern areas. By Thursday, the ridge quickly rebuilds in to the Great Basin as that low finally moves off to the east. So much warmer temperatures, lighter winds, except we will see some northerly winds in between that high and low in Utah, keeping dispersion still fairly good over southern Utah, but pour over the rest of the area. By Friday, the next storm system starts to move into the Pacific Northwest. This will push mainly clouds and some light showers into northern areas of the Great Basin and push that drier air off to the east. And by Saturday, that system continues to push east, so that moisture continues to move across the Great Basin Saturday and Sunday. This looks to be a fairly warm storm, especially in western areas of the Great Basin. So we'll see some high snow levels in the Sierra with valley temperatures in the 50s and in some areas getting into the upper 50s. So very warm on the west side. Most of the precipitation up north in Idaho and Wyoming will probably be in the form of snowfall. Could see some rain mixed down in the lowest elevations initially, but it does look like it'll be more of a snow event up in northern areas. So looking at the precipitation on Friday into Saturday, you can see that next system moving in. So good amounts of precipitation for parts of central Idaho and into the central and northern Sierra. Again, that central and northern Sierra, even in the higher elevations, some of that might be in the form of rainfall. Moving later in the weekend into early next week, you can see that storm system still bringing precipitation across the northern half of the Great Basin. So again, this will be more similar to what we've been seeing with most of the storms this winter, with precipitation targeting the north and keeping the drier air in the south. The 7-day total precipitation, you can see the 7-day total in the south from this first system these next few days, and then later this week into the weekend and early next week is where all of this precipitation in the north will occur. The 8 to 14-day outlook taking us into the first week of February, looking like cooler temperatures and possibly above normal precipitation as we are getting into a little bit more of an active pattern with storm systems moving into the north. So this is definitely good news for Idaho, Wyoming, and the northern half of Nevada and Utah with respect to precipitation and additions to the snowpack. That concludes the webcast for today. Check back on Wednesday for the latest updates.